Hello everyone, Miss Dempsey here, and in today's episode of GT Sport Racing, we'll be hanging out at Circuit de Sainte-Croix. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And for this first race, we'll be hanging out with the Nissan GTR. This is pretty much the meta car, as all the top times are using this car. But ironically, we have a Huracan just up ahead of us over here. And it was pretty nice to come across some subscribers and friends who were in this week's B races, so hello to you all. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with this race. Obviously, I'm starting off the day, or this video, with the Nissan GTR. It's the meta car, and it has a speed and it has some of the turning, but should be more than enough to be able to get through this track at the fastest time possible. The Huracan, it's not going to have the speed, but it can get through the turns a little bit better than the GTR. But with all these sections where you're trying to go for that top speed, the GTR is going to be able to keep up with it. But let's see if we can try to catch up with them over here. Alright, taking these turns nice and cleanly, just trying to be very smooth with the input, trying not to get the car unsettled. And as the Huracan, he gets a little bit twitchy. And as I've mentioned in couple of videos before, the Huracan is a bit of a twitchy car, but if you treat it right, then it'll do you justice. Still not trying to plan any method of attack right now. I'm just trying to get settled in. I'm trying to get used to the car, because over here, this is where I can really start to plan the attack now. I'm going to have a pretty good top speed, and as he ends up grinding the wall, so that's going to help me catch up a little bit more as I have more speed than he does. And I'm going to go ahead and try to stay right behind him so I can go ahead and get some of that delicious slipstream benefits. Try to go a little faster, and let's go ahead and start to brake a little bit early because I'm going a little bit faster. And right here I'm starting to catch up. He's going a little bit wide, and I start to lose it just a little bit, but now I'm right behind him. So we're going to go ahead and see if I can try to get past him somewhere later along this race. But for now, through here, I'm just going to stick right behind him. There's no rush. We still have 2 more laps, but as you notice on the bottom right of the screen, there's another car that's hanging out right behind me. It's another Nissan GTR. He ended up catching up to me, and I'm going to go ahead and accelerate a little bit too early. The other Nissan tries to get out of the way so he doesn't end up hitting me and get himself a penalty. And he's going to go ahead and get the inside line as he's going faster than I am. And I don't really have an option, so I'm just going to go ahead and give the position to him. So now at this point, I'm just hoping that we can try to work together so we can get a little bit closer to the Huracan so we can start to apply pressure to him. And hopefully just get him to mess up so we can then start to fight with each other. And also I just want to say sorry if I'm talking a bit too fast. That's something I've been trying to control for the last while. And nothing really happens over here, so we're just going to go ahead and skip along through here. And the thing that I also just need to say again is that the GTR is probably one of the cars that I am the least comfortable with. There's just something, I don't know, there's just something that doesn't feel right with me when I'm using it. As I start to pass second place, but I'm trying to get a better exit, but I ended up overstepping it just a little bit. And here, this is where I got really uncomfortable because we got really close, but I decided to back off for 2 reasons. 1, he was going to have the inside line of that right-hander, and 2, I didn't know how much the car would end up understeering, so I didn't want to accidentally push him out and give myself a 5-second penalty. So I was like, okay, just take second place. Let's just try not to kill each other because we're trying to catch up to first place. But because of our battle, as you see here, he's already making a getaway with it. And here I'm trying to get a clean line, but the other GTR ends up going through that turn a little slowly, so now it's a drag race. And obviously I'm going to end up winning this little drag race as I got a cleaner exit than he did. So I'm going to go ahead and take the racing line, try to pretend that he's not there. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this turn nice and cleanly, try to be calm about it even though he is hanging out right behind me. And this is one of my weak turns right here, one of the turns I am most uncomfortable with, as the other car ends up getting a much better exit than I do and kind of almost taps me. It was really hard to tell if he ended up tapping me, and I was really afraid that he would end up tapping me into the wall, by accident that is, but luckily that did not happen. Now we're in another drag race, and I'm going to go ahead and take the outside line since he's hanging out on my right. Tried to get a better exit, but he ends up swooping by, almost loses it, but he was able to keep it intact. And now I'm going to go ahead and see if I can try to at least try to squeeze on in, but he's starting to get away. This turn I end up overshooting it just a bit, and the car gets a little bumpy, which unsettles me more and ends up hitting the grass. And yeah, at this point I'm just like, okay, yeah, he won the race, unless if he ends up messing up this turn, but he clearly had it in the bag. I was a little frustrated just because I'm pretty uncomfortable with this car, but either way, third place finish, I'll take that any day over fourth place and, well, below. So alright, so let's go ahead and go to the second race, which is with the GR Supra Racing Concepts. This is a car I am very comfortable with. It's not the meta car, obviously, but it's definitely a good contender, and it could definitely hang out with the GTR boys. Alright, take this first turn nice and cleanly, and I'm also going to point out once again that for the 3 races in this video, I didn't warm up that much. I basically used like the 7-minute waiting time to warm up with these cars, so if you're thinking that I'm a little bit slow, you're right, and that is why, because I didn't warm up that much. And okay, so there was a position change that actually happened in that last turn for second and third place, so kind of wondering what happened over there. And just be nice and careful through this turn. Try to get a really clean exit, that way I can try to get a nice and clean getaway. But something ended up happening with second place, and I'm going to assume third place and the people further back. Suddenly I am entering a 2-second gap, so let's see what ended up happening here. Alright, taking a look through the eyes of third place, he ends up sneaking in on the left, but ends up colliding a bit with the other GTR, but still gets a pass through. Not the cleanest of passes, but at least he didn't get taken out. And we're going to go ahead and look through the eyes of, well, third place again, but another car that's in third place, and see what causes gap to develop, as he ends up kind of just dive bombing and colliding with the other GTR, kind of just like a retaliation. And of course, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but at least in my eyes, it kind of seemed that way, as they keep on battling out. So we're gonna go ahead and just keep looking through the perspective a bit more. They end up getting another pass with a bit of a collision, getting tapped from in the back. And we're going to go ahead and see through this one more turn right here, but nothing else really happens over here. And let's go ahead and go back to our perspective right now. Alright, back to our perspective. Skipping over to lap 2, and I'm still at a pretty healthy gap, as I almost lose it right here. I just touch a bit of the gravel, and the car just almost spins out on me. But luckily, I was able to save the car. And here we are, crossing the finish line in first place. Nothing really happened after that. Just a nice clean finish. Well, I mean, almost clean. I almost lost it at that turn, but other than that, it was a pretty good finish. So let's go ahead and look at the third race, and it is with the McLaren F1 GTR. Oh boy, that's all I can say. This car has a great top speed, but when it comes to braking and cornering, that's where it's going to have its really big downfall. And as you can see here, the GTR that is behind me is already catching up to me, and that's already getting me worried, because once again, for the last time, I didn't warm up that much. So I'm trying to figure out what this car can take, as I end up going a bit wide, and I don't want to battle out with now first place. So I'm just going to go ahead and let him squeeze on by and see if we can work together to try to create a gap between us and third place. Again, just try to be really careful to these turns, because apparently this car doesn't like to turn, at least for me. This car, I don't know, this car's something else to me again. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can try to get a little bit closer, and of course I am, because this car is lightning fast. And I'm going to brake a little bit early, because I am not too confident with its braking, and at the same time I'm getting a bit of that slipstream, so I don't want to punt him off into the wall. And through this turn, I'm getting ready to attack because this is definitely where I can take advantage of the top speed, as I end up hitting the wall. And I kind of just get really frustrated myself. It's like, oh my god, did I just seriously mess that up? So, okay, now first place is getting away. I don't think I'll be able to catch up to first place unless if he ends up messing up or just ends up exiting through a lot of the turns a lot slower. But right now, my eyes are kind of just on the track ahead and just trying to make sure that third place doesn't creep up on me, because there's a 99% chance that they are in the GTR, and it goes through these turns better than the F1 GTR. So if I'm slowing down through here a lot, then I know I'm going to be in a lot of trouble, especially as the race is going to end, well, later. But in the meantime, let's just go ahead and get ready to start with lap 2. Alright, in lap 2, I mean, this is going to be a struggle, right? Going through turn 1, 2, 3, etc., etc., because this car just doesn't like to turn. I mean, that's at least with me. I had the brake bias set to +1, and I had a +2 for some time, but it just made the car too twitchy for me, so I had to tone it down. But even then, it kind of just gave me a bit of problems, as I almost ended up cutting that corner. And I'm just getting a bit more worried, because if third place gets a better pace than me, then he's definitely going to catch up before the race finishes. And I want to try to not make that happen as I go through this turn. Just try to be nice and careful. And I get a clean line right here as I'm starting to catch up a bit to first place. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that he took that turn a bit too wide. But is it going to be enough to try to catch up to first place? Hopefully. But the thing is that if he ends up getting better turns from this section, let's say, then, well, that's just going to be nothing but a dream to me. And let's go ahead and go through this turn, just trying to be really careful this time. But I think I just ended up going too slow, as first place is starting to get away from me. Alright, skipping on over to the final lap. First place has pretty much got this in the bag, but third place is hanging out right behind me, as he is less than half a second away from me. And I'm getting really nervous, as this section is where the F1 GTR is at its weakest, so I am pretty vulnerable. I just have to try to be really clean through these turns, just try to go through them as fast as I can, as much as the car can handle, and I have to tap the brakes just a little bit to try to adjust myself. And all I have is one more turn. All I have to do is just keep it nice and clean. That way third place will not be able to catch up to me. And clean turn, yes I do. I end up taking that turn nice and clean at a pretty good pace, and I'm able to secure second place. Of course, it's not first place. I mean, you can't win every race, but I will definitely take a podium. I'll definitely take a second place finish over not podium finish. But either way, at the end of this video, or day, however you want to look at it, these were some pretty good races. Had a lot of fun. If you haven't tried out any of the races this week, or at least on this B race, definitely try it out before it gets rotated out. It's pretty good fun. It's just the only thing is that the races are a bit too short. I wish they were longer, but other than that, good races overall. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the awesome support over the last 10 months. This is Mr. MCA, wishing you a good race and a good weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.